Hello and welcome everyone, my name is Capcan and this is going to be a build guide for Spark Inquisitor with high defense stats and high damage. It is quite powerful, popular skill for map clearing or for bosses. It is very versatile, it is quite easy to use. The build itself, it has pretty high cost, not over the roof, but it's still pretty high, so it's not a league starter, but you definitely can farm things to get this type of power. So yeah, basically, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. After you subscribe, all the pub and everything, every links are gonna be in the description for the video, so open it up if you want them, and there's gonna be a link to PoE Ninja character as well. So basically, let's go through the three then skills and items, and let's see what the build is all about. So basically, the build starts from Templar starting area. We're going for glancing blows, we're going for block chance, both block chance and spell block chance. It's going to be a bit weaker, of course, because we're taking glancing blows, which means that percentage of damage is going to be going in on us, but still we're gonna have way smoother damage, incoming damage, and we have very high recovery with our energy shield and with talents that with Pious Path that's given us to us through the Inquisitor's talent tree. So we're gonna go for block. Then we're gonna go for, of course, energy shield. We're going for mana reservation efficiency where we can go for it. We're going for more skill effect duration for Spark. It is very valuable. We're taking inner conviction here as we are using militant faith here. It gives us more spell damage per power charge instead of frenzy charges, and we're gonna go pretty high on our power charges, which means that yeah, it's gonna be a very good damage boost for us. Yeah, and then some talents are gonna be changed with the militant faith as well in there. We're going for divine shield, which is obvious. We're gonna need as much regeneration and recovery for our energy shield as possible, because it is we do have way more energy shield than we do have unreserved life, because we're reserving our life. So yeah, recovering it will be quite essential for our survivability, but we still have very high effective hit pool because of all other defensive mechanics that are gonna be going around our character. We are taking some life nodes as well here and there, basically for effect of consecrated ground. This one in particular is very powerful as well. We are going for 3 grand spectrums, but for jewels we're gonna go a bit later. So mana reservation efficiency is the second stat that is one of the biggest stats that you're looking for as well. Again, a bit more energy shield, more mana reservation efficiency. Then we're going for some cast speed as well, would be pretty nice as well. Crit strike multiplier, crit strike chance. We're gonna be hitting 100% crit strike chance, and we're gonna be ignoring enemy resistances with inevitable judgment talent from Inquisitor, which means that we do want to have high crit strike chance, and because we're gonna have high crit strike chance, the crit strike multiplier is basically just a regular multiplier for our hits, which is great and it will serve us pretty well. And we're finishing off with more mana reservation efficiency and aura increase effect on us. And then again, we're using pain attunement. We are reserving a bit more than 50% of our life. That's why it works here. We're gonna be counted as on low life, and it's more spell damage, which is very, very powerful for us. Now let's go for the jewels that we are utilizing in this build. So basically, first is a natural instinct, grants all bonuses of unallocated small passives. So yeah, allocated small passives here don't give us nothing, but unallocated ones give us their bonuses, which means all the cast speed, all the spell damage, some attack speed, movement speed, and all the other stuff as well. And yeah, militant faith changes part of these talents as well. Now militant faith just gives us additional elemental resistances, effect of our non-curse auras in here. As you can see here, it gives us this inner conviction keynote talent, and otherwise yeah, that's just your Legion jewel. There's nothing fancy about it, or nothing too fancy about it. There are some tattoos that are utilized in here as well. It depends on your budget, on what do you think that build is lacking for yourself. There's a bunch of chance to avoid bleeding we see here. Then +1 to level of intelligence skill gems, which is quite pricey and very powerful for sure. Now, when it comes to our cluster jewels, we're using cold damage. So basically, we are dealing precisely cold damage, almost entirely cold damage. That's why we're good with cold damage and not elemental damage cluster jewels, and in general we're gonna be forcing cold jewel as much as possible. Then we're getting more so snowstorm, lightning damage as extra cold damage. So spark itself is the skill that bases around lightning damage. And then we are converting all that damage with our Call of the Brotherhood. We're converting nearly 100% of lightning damage to cold damage, and that's why it will benefit from both being lightning damage and all this gain percentage of lightning as extra cold and stuff like that. Then prismatic heart, just your regular resistances and increases to elemental damage. Then cluster jewels for projectile damage, as you can see here, with additional projectile speed. Projectile pierce is one of the most important here, because spark is a projectile. For it to not stop after the first enemy you hit, you need projectile piercing. So projectile speed for them to go further and faster, projectile damage, cast speed, all this good stuff. And then small cluster jewels are all gonna be with mana reservation efficiency, and here auras from your skills have increased effect, and auras from your skills has increased effect on you. And that's mostly it. I don't think that I've forget about anything. So, grand spectrums. So the grand spectrum ones, +1 to minimum power charges, as you can see here, and the other ones probably gonna be easier to find in here. So the first one is for minimum power charges, the second one is for minimum endurance charges, and the third one is for increased critical strike chance per grand spectrum. So and whenever you have 3 of them, you're gonna benefit from them very, very highly, and it's going to be pretty good for your build. Now let's go for our skill gems. So our main skill gem is in gloves, which is pseudo 6-link. It's not a 6-link originally, but it gives us 6-link and even more with modifiers on gloves themselves. So let's check out the things that we have here first. So it's spark with its regular variant of spark with increased critical damage, awakened spell echo, regular spell echo will be fine, and a divergent inspiration. As you can see here, a divergent wand gives us even more reduced mana cost, which makes mana cost of our spark almost non-existent, and it's very, very we do need to have such a mana cost because we don't have too much unreserved mana, so we need our spark to not cost too much mana. And so this is a 4-link, and then with our gloves, we do have socketed gems are supported by faster projectiles, faster casting. Socketed gems have plus base critical strike chance, the critical strike multiplier, +1 to level of socketed projectile gems, and projectile spears an additional target. It's not going to be specific to the gems that are slotted in these gloves. These gloves are very, very expensive in this, in particular in this setup. You can use 6-link with your chest piece. You can get additional base crit strike chance on your chest piece as well, if you are not ready to get something like these gloves. But anyways, everything's possible. So this is our setup. Then in our body armor, we're going for Enlighten. It's level 4. Here, probably if you don't have capability to get Enlighten for yourself or to have it such a high level, you need to downscale the amount of auras that you use. But we are using here Zealotry, Wrath, Petrified Blood, and Determination, with Val Haste being an active aura that you want to use just whenever. Then we are going for Hatred with Inspiration and Divine Blessing as additional active button that you're going to be using whenever you need additional damage. And this Hatred in here, Inspiration here, is mostly for the reduced mana cost, and it's divergent. Anomalous quality is going to be very, very powerful indeed, as we don't have, as you can see here. So we're going to go for the Hatred. And is going to cost you way less, and we do have 118 unreserved mana, so 80 mana that hatred costs will be more than enough to squeeze it in our small unreserved mana pool. Then we are using Sniper's Mark, Molten Shell, and Flash and Flame Dash, just your regular Blink ability, defensive ability, and your Mark. You don't really need your regular curses that decrease enemies' resistances, because we penetrate enemies' resistances, which means that we're not going to benefit from enemies having lower than 0 resistance, but everyone who has 50, 60, 70 resistances, they're going to be at 0. That's why we don't need any curses, regular ones, and we're using Mark that is very powerful, that makes cursed enemies take increased damage from projectile hits, which means that it's a multiplier on top of your all other multipliers. Then with our other reservation skills, it's Vitality with Arrogance. So these are our life reservation ones. So that's a Vitality that gives you health regeneration and your ES regeneration. That is like through our classes, so through our Pious Path, Consecrated Ground, you create a causes life regeneration to also recover energy shield regeneration for you and your allies, and you will always have a Consecrated Ground with you. And that's why that Vitality has double effect on us: Precision for increased critical strike chance, and Tempest Shield for us to have immunity to shock and additional spell block chance. And it's gonna be our main source of spell block. We do have almost cap here. Then we're using Empower with Smite, Righteous Fire, and Purity of Ice. Smite is gonna give us additional lightning damage, as whenever you hit enemy with your smite, you will get aura that gives you additional flat lightning damage, and Phantasmal Quality grants you some increased cast speed as well. Purity of Ice here gives us additional just additional what Purity of Ice will do. Increased cold resistances, and maximum cold resistance. And it's very important here because of melding of the flesh. By the way, that's the jewel that I forget about, that is located right here. It gives us minus to all elemental resistances, minus to all maximum elemental resistances, and then it gives us elemental resistances are kept by your highest maximum elemental resistance instead, which means that we can make only one max res being as high as possible. In this case, it's going to be cold resistance, because as you can see here, we're utilizing Purity of Ice, and then part of our items are going to be doing the same. And then we have very high all res. Even though the jewel itself has a cost to it that you have to pay with all the -2 resistances and stuff, and it's going to be harder to itemize for it. If you don't have it, you can just not use it for the moment. It is quite costly as well. It will ease your itemization whenever you're just gearing up this character, but after you can get it, after you can satisfy your resistance needs, it's going to be very, very good, and you will have a very high effective hit pool. And then that's it with our skill gems. When it comes to our weapons, we're using Nebulous, which is it is a very popular and very powerful weapon that gives us increased cold damage per percentage cold resistance above 75%, and we do have 89%, which means that it's 14. Then you can multiply it and stuff, and increased lightning damage per 1% lightning resistance above 75%, and again it's 14% as well, which is just enormous increases to your damage. It gives you cast speed as well. That's your Nebulous, and that's why, by the way, we do have not as much increases to damage on our talent tree, because we can get Nebulous, and it will give us this part of multiplying process of our damage way easier being done. Then with our second weapon, it's a shield. It's Aegis Aurora, and it gives us a pretty good chance to block. plus to maximum cold resistance, which we are targeting. It gives us a bunch of armor and a bunch of energy shield as well. Recover energy shield equal to % of your armor. So that's it. It's just the most important thing here is maximum cold res and how it works with our synergies in terms of how are we getting maximum, our all maximum resistances being capped. Then when it comes to our helmet, as much mana reservation efficiency as possible. Spark fires additional projectiles as the enchantment. Armor, energy shield, pretty good. Flat regeneration for our life, again, doubles with our passive from the Ascendancy talent tree. Some resistances and +1 to level of socketed AoE gems. Then for our body armor, it has Purity of Ice, has increased aura effect, which is, and all the other things that give us increased aura effect are gonna be applied to Purity of Ice, which gives us plus to maximum. It is going to be applied to all our auras, but this one in particular is very powerful because it gives us even more plus to maximum cold res. Then +2 to maximum cold res, which is very, very important here as well. Otherwise, it just gives you, mods for armor, energy shield, resistances, more mana reservation efficiency. That's it. With gloves, we already saw them. Boots, movement speed, if you can squeeze it in here. Some attributes, resistances, life. Adds cold damage if you've been hit, so basically, more flat damage. That's your enchantment here. Some increased life regeneration rate, which is definitely very good because we do have a bunch of life regen. And that's it. With Amulet, it's Ashes of the Stars, which is quite expensive one. It's not like you can't really afford it, but it's still quite expensive one. It allocates Champion of the Cause. It gives you a bunch of increased reservation efficiency, +1 to level of all skill gems, and +2 quality of all skill gems. It's not like your build totally depends on it, but it is very, very important to have it. And this one probably should come first before all your maximum resistances and other things that you can spend your currency on. Then with our rings, it's 2 calls of the Brotherhood. The main thing here is percentage of cold damage converted to percentage of lightning damage converted to cold damage. Then your spells have chance to shock against frozen enemies, pretty good as well. Some increases to lightning damage. The main thing is conversion. Then the belt, it's a Stygian Vice base, some attributes that you don't have enough. Resistances, some armor, maximum energy shield, that's it. With our Abyssal Jewel, it's gonna be Corrupted Blood cannot be inflicted on you, and some reservation efficiency here squeezed in as well. Some other damage stats, some life, whatever you can get here. Probably with Corrupted Blood immunity, it's gonna be hard to find a good one, but still you can do that. Now with when it comes to our flasks, it's Bottle Faith, which is very, very powerful, and it gives us a bunch of damage. Then our Quicksilver Flask for movement speed, Diamond Flask for crit strike chance, Granite for armor, and Silver Flask for an onslaught, and again additional armor on mods. It doesn't really matter how you go with all the mods on different flasks. Here with Diamond Flask, we do have reduced mana cost of skills during effect, which is definitely essential for your spark to cost even less. Without it, it will cost more, and you will have a bit more shortages on your mana. Oh, that wasn't the right one. Yeah, as you can see here, it's already 23 mana, still more than enough for you to pump out all the DPS that you possibly can. And as you probably saw here, we do have immunity to Corrupted Blood from our jewel, and we do have immunity to bleeding from the small tattoos and stuff. That's why we don't really need life flask with immunity to bleeding that can kill you pretty fast, because it's fizz dot, and anyways with our regen it wouldn't be as bad, especially if you're taking your Pantheon node for bleeding, not doing you additional damage whenever you run, and you have pretty good regeneration. You'll probably be fine, but this way it's even more easy to deal with. So yeah, thanks for watching, hope you're having a good time. Definitely subscribe to the channel. Bye.